Let's get one thing straight before we even start. If you go to the Louisiana Bayou looking for alligators but get absolutely wrecked by a hippopotamus, then just know you were in the wrong place at the wrong time with the absolute wrong species. Welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about Hungry. That is the 2026 creature feature that could tear the horror world in half. Now, I've seen some people calling this the most refreshing, character-driven survival horror of the decade. It's being praised for making a historically goofy animal actually terrifying. And then there are some others, and I think I may fall into this category, that are calling this a bloated, dragging mess. And because I'm going to be your beacon of brutal honesty, I'm here to tell you that the second group of people are correct, because I am going to slap this movie with a generous 2 out of 5 stars, and I'm going to tell you right now why this is a swampy disaster. Now, with that said, I'll go ahead and give you a spoiler warning, because I am going to talk about the movie in detail from here. And please don't forget to like and subscribe and push that little bell. That way you get notified about more videos like this, and give this video a hype as well. And I'm not sure what the hype really does, but go ahead and give this video a hype and let's see what it does. Now, if you haven't seen Hungry and you actually care, go ahead and pause this video or put me in your watch for later and then come back and check it out after you've seen it. So I'm sure you're asking yourself by now, why does this review matter? And I think it matters because we need to start handing out participation trophies to movies just because they swapped out a shark for a hippo in this scenario. It is a fun gimmick, and I cannot lie about that. But at the same time, putting a fresh coat of paint on a rusty-ass house isn't hiding the fact that it's rusted. Now, let's talk about the execution, because it's clear to me when watching this film that the director really wanted to do some type of slow burn, atmospheric, psychological thriller. And for about the first 20 to 25 minutes, I think it was actually working too. You know, you had the murky water, we had the mangled 12-foot alligator up on the riverbank, and it honestly sets this fantastic, eerie tone. And it immediately says to you that whatever did this is bigger, meaner, and doesn't give a damn about this tour. But then the boat flips over. And honestly, people, that is where everything starts to slow down with the pacing. And I say it slowed down, it damn near flatlined, to be honest with you. It needed a defibrillator. This is how slow this got. Once the boat capsizes and it gets stuck on a bunch of trees and the hole is there and everybody climbs up into the trees, we literally stayed there for the longest amount of time. Actually, a majority of the film. We roughly spend 35 to 40 real world minutes in this place, in this one little area where everything takes place. And I'll talk about in a second why that's really, really frustrating. But in this moment, while they're all stuck here for these 35 minutes, they're just complaining about medical bills. They're watching Rodrigo bleed out. Like, they're doing absolutely nothing. It is a complete waste of time, in my opinion. They could have been doing something way more interesting. And look, I get it. This is an indie horror. There are budget constraints. I completely understand. But I think parking your entire ensemble on a tree stump with a boat for over a third of the movie is not building tension. It's honestly a little bit lazy. Like, think about this. You have the environment of the Louisiana Bayou. This would be a great environment for some type of survival thriller. Like, give me characters that are trodden waist deep through the water, trying not to get bit by alligators or snakes or something dangerous in the waters down there in the swamps. Give me a claustrophobic chase scene through the mangled trees and all the climbing over the stumps and humps, or give me something like that. Don't just stick everybody up in a tree like a cat that's hiding from a room. For me, the believability of the situation started to wear off the longer that they sat up there in this tree. This is where some of the tension should be building, in my opinion, but it's honestly doing the exact opposite. Like, where is the real threat of this half-ton killing machine? Now, the acting is fine. Madison Davenport does her best to be a traumatized millennial who just lost her job and her mom, and she's going to eventually lose her sister in this situation as well. And then you have Joaquin de Almeida, I believe it's pronounced, who does a really good job as Walker, and he's this crusty old hunter who gets introduced into the film by telling everybody how dangerous hippos really are. You know, he kind of helps sets the tone in that first 20 minutes. And in my opinion, the script really does try to ground these characters, but the problem is the dialogue is kind of clunky. But then we have the writing for the character decisions. And wait. Let's stop right there for a second and let's talk about Diane, since we're talking about character decisions. Now, are you really kidding me with this character? Because This character, who I thought was a waste of space for the longest amount of time, ended up being the character I hated the most, and I was ready for her to die. She was quite literally the most incompetent character in this film. She forces the guy off route, and she does this earlier in the film when she kind of pays him off camera $300 to take her to see the biggest alligator so she can impress her stepkids. So it is really her fault that they were in this situation to begin with. And why did this guy take an extra $300? You know, times are hard. Why not take an extra 300 for something that you don't think is going to be that dangerous? Sure, it's off your regular route, but you know these swamps and you have an alligator tracker, so it's not going to be that bad. But then there's another moment in this film where she has this bright idea to keep the hippo away. Let's pour gasoline around the boat and set it on fire because I guess she's a zoologist all of a sudden because they're afraid of fire. How the hell does she know this? And I'm sure she made this fact up. I didn't look it up to see if it was true or not. And this hippo really didn't seem to be too intimidated by the fire. And this was part of that whole middle segment that was kind of dragging out. But the real reason for that whole segment was to really get Madison in the water to go check the GPS tracker that just happened to be off, that they just turned back on because Rodrigo just doesn't know anything. And yeah, he's bleeding out and he's a little loopy, but he's another terrible character in this film, but he's not as terrible as this woman, though. And then even in the end, when she has a chance to redeem herself, she doesn't. Walker is getting ready to be torn apart by this hippo, and he eventually gets his head smashed in like a pancake. And what does she do? She closes the door to keep him from coming in, and she does all this in the act of self-preservation, in my opinion. And by this point, I was actively cheering on this hippo to kill her. And when it had the opportunity to smash her into that gate, I did not feel 1 ounce of pity at all. Anyways, let's just move on because despite my rants, I have to be fair because there is a definitive high in this movie, and it is the sheer brutality of the kills. Hungry was brave enough to show that the hippo doesn't eat you. It actually kills you just for fun. The absolute peak of this film, in my opinion, was when Hannah was climbing up the tree and the hippo jumped out of the water, kind of like a scene in Deep Blue Sea, and tore her in half. And we see her later floating under the boat. Well, half of her floating under the boat. In my opinion, that is top tier horror. That is the movie that I signed up to see. And then we get to the absolute low of this film, and that is the creative decision that completely tanked my rating, and that is the ending. After about 80 minutes of establishing that this hippo is ruthless, it is an unstoppable force, it's territorial, all of this, you establish all of this. We literally end this movie damn near on a Disney princess moment. Madison finds this CGI baby hippo, and the hippo runs back to his parent. And, you know, the parent kind of looks at it, and they just walk off into the sunset. They're gone. They killed all of these people. They were territorial. They were monsters. They did all of this. And this baby hippo was the only thing that it needed to just go away. You cannot preach the realistic dangers of wild animals and then end the damn film this way. That is horrible to me. It completely invalidates the threat to begin with. So why would you take this direction? The hippo should have got his baby back and then tore Madison in half. And yeah, that would have been a little bit brutal, but it would have been realistic at the same time, at least based upon what you established in this film. So what is my final verdict for Hungry? I think it was a fantastic premise. It completely sabotaged his own execution, though. It traded off what could have been an environmentally ruthless chase scene for at least 35 minutes. And instead, it gave us 35 minutes of tree sitting and characters just making stupid choices. And it's all capped off by a hilariously sentimental ending that betrays everything that is established in the entire film. It was already predictable, and that's fine, especially for horror in some cases. But the believability fell off as well. And that's where it's not fine. And the third act was just, ugh. So 2 out of 5 stars. That's what I give it. Now I'm going to turn it over to you. You guys let me know what you think about it down in the comments. Did I spoil it for you? I apologize if I did spoil it for you, but I do still hope you go sit through it and torture yourself just like I did. Because it's not a terrible watch. It is something to watch, especially if you don't have anything going on. But I would not sit down for a movie night and throw that movie on. If you do that, then you're going to have a bad movie night. You're probably going to fall asleep. So if you decide to do it that way, maybe read a book at the same time. So I just want to give everybody a massive thank you. Thank you for coming. And please don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your way out. And with all of that being said, I will see you in the next one.